Hi, this is France Joshua Merida, and welcome to On Point the podcast, where I invite guests that will allow you to be inspired, informed, and updated with all of the issues. So join me as I have my conversations with them on point. Welcome to another episode of On Point the podcast, where I feature inspiring and motivational stories. So aniya na pud ta karon sa isa ka episode sa On Point the podcast og atong makaistorya ang top 6 sa bag-o lang na human nga Psychometrician 2022 examination. She's from the University of San Carlos. Everyone, please help me welcome Ms Erika Gabrielle Gepilano. Mom, thank you for saying yes to this conversation and welcome to On Point the podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm really honored to have you invite me in your podcast.
And thank you also for squishing me into your busy schedule. Kaya I know busy good kaayo no, ever since nakapass ka sa licensure exam. And thank you for to be able to share your story with us and with our little program.
No worries.
So my first question, ma'am, I want to get to know you in a personal level. No, you can just share whatever you can and whatever you want. Can you just tell our viewers and listeners what was your childhood like, especially during your elementary and high school years? No, were you such an achiever, good nga student even before?
When I was younger, I'd never really thought about achievements or grades. If I remember, back then, my mom would just tell me, what matters is that you understand things because they would be useful for you in the future. So things about becoming an honor student or anything never really came to mind. I've been pretty much an average student that just takes interests in certain topics, and sure enough, psychology was one of them.
So, you mean to say you were never pressured by your parents to study? You mean to say parang it came naturally for you to just study on your own and just do your best, and at the end of the day, end results will just come in?
When I was still younger, it's a little bit of both. Because my mom used to be my teacher along with my little brother, and she would always encourage us to do our best. And though there are times nga, gahigo, di maminaw, pero at the end of the day, mother knows best, and maminaw sa ko niya afterwards. And I guess, in the long run, I appreciate her efforts to push me to do this for myself for the future.
So, for the next question, why did you choose psychology? Is that a conscious and interest already, or were you influenced by your peers, friends, or relatives?
Psychology has always been very interesting to me. I think since elementary, I've been very curious about people and their behaviors and how they think. And I never really gave it a name before until like high school na ko. And by that time, I was like, okay, I would like to be in that field of psychology. But funnily enough, my first course was not psychology. It was actually medical technology. So I used to take up pre-med with the dream to become a psychiatrist. So, through the process of how to become a doctor. But after 3 years in medtech, it didn't work out. And so I said, okay, let's just go straight to it, get into, the course of psychology.
But at least when you shifted from medical technology to psychology, kumbaga it's like of more of kanang correlated sila to each other nga if you want to be a doctor, yun, the both path were just okay if you jump ship from another course. Kumbaga, dili lang pod kaayo ka maglisod mag 360. No, kay medyo ideal man ang duha for you to become a doctor or kung mo pursue gyud ka og diretso sa medical field.
Yeah, I would say that there's still kind of an alignment sa akong goal, because my goal basically is to get into the field of psychology, be it a psychiatry or become a psychologist. It didn't really matter too much to me when I was still in my first course. So now that I've shifted, it feels like everything seems to be in its right place, I guess. And at least that's
Everything's
how I
falling into
see
place.
it. Yeah.
And then I'm just curious, no, among the best schools in Cebu, um, why in University of San Carlos? I mean, kay naaman ko yun madunggan pod na story no nga um because they want to maintain the brand of kana bang murag excellence in every course, not naman to the extent that they pressure their student to top really the board exam or whatever exam that their students want to take. But gisigihan lang po nila encourage ang mga estudyante nga in this batch kailangan ay matap. Did you experience that in your batch nga giingnan gyud mo ba nga kailangan gyud nga na ay matap, or were they consistently reminding you to to be on the top or to always excel? Was there any pressure?
Not really. I don't think in my batch, at least among the faculty and people in my school, really said, oh, you have to top, or they prepare you really for just the board exam. Even back then, when I was in my fourth year, I remember not even thinking about taking the board exam in the first place. But, things happen. I was like, okay, why not? But going back, yeah, I don't think my batch was really that pressured, but I would say that there were expectations, because during my time in San Carlos, I was more of a Dean's Lister um, recipient, or like 3 times, I think. And people kind of had like these expectations that, oh, yeah, Erika got this or something like that. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Parang kumbaga your peers, your friends were already expecting for you to at least do good, no? In a
Yeah.
way. Uh is was that a pressure, ma'am, for you to at least those expectations no nga mo top yun, was that an extra pressure for you, and kanang apil ba na siya sa mga extra push for you to do good and eventually land in the top 6 no nga sa spot sa psychometrician board exam?
Yes. The pressure really was there and very felt, very much felt by me. And sometimes it did discourage me to like continue taking the test, because I was thinking that, oh my goodness, I don't know if I'm ready for this, with all the hurdles with COVID and then with that and so many factors. And I keep thinking like, my goodness, these people still think that I have the capacity to excel when I felt like parang I'm not that ready anymore.
I'll just pick up from what you said kanina. You said there was an extra pressure. How do you handle pressure, and when you feel pressured, ma'am, when you feel all the pressure and all the extra noises from all of that, no, from all of that experience, How are you able to just zone out, relax, and just be yourself again?
So the first thing I would do when that, pressure overwhelms me is really to confront it. I admit to myself I feel pressured, and I tell myself, okay, what could be the reason why? Could it be family, friends, whatsoever? And then I just allow it to, allow to feel that pressure at first. Um, Let it go through me, and eventually it will just eventually, take its course and go away somehow. But definitely, I do take steps to step back from my review, from the obligations people would expect for me to do, and focus on my self care. So I am in the field of mental health, and I need to practice what I preach, and I have to work on my own mental health. So there are times I would do yoga, meditation, just do things outside of just reviewing so that I have a more holistic way, sad, of learning and preparing myself for the board.
Kumbaga, let you don't let the pressure consume you. And what's interesting in with your sharing is that as a psychologist or as a student learner of psychology, it's your, kumbaga, you have this self-assessment to see for yourself if na pressure na ka ginagmay or nanay mga noises nga dili gid mada. You have to zone out. At least you know when to zone out and be back again. I guess that's your edge among the other courses, no? Or that's your edge of being a psychology learner or student nga. You know when to zone out and you know when to just come back and do your thing.
Yes, basically, to step out from all the noise and then come back in when I'm ready to face it again.
I think you took the exam during the pandemic, no, kay 2022 siya ni gawas ang result. So I assume pandemic pa ato nga time. What was your study habit like, considering we are cooped up with our little bubble? Kumbaga, we are restrained. How do you manage your time from studying and leisure and then COVID on the side? Kumbaga, was it like study or study leisure? How do you, how do you incorporate your me time when at the back of your head there's this voice saying na you have to study well for your exam?
When I started my review, uh, I did create like this study plan for me, wherein it was more like, study, study, rest, study, study, or something like that. Like, majority of the time was studying, but I learned along the way that that was just a recipe for a burnout. And sure enough, I really did feel the burnout, and I would stop studying for quite a while, especially during the pandemic. The board exam for psychometrician was actually moved twice. The first one, I forgot the first one because I wasn't yet committed to taking the exam. But the second one was supposed to be in August 1 and 2, 2021. And that one I was trying to prepare for. And then, so I was just trying to like do my best to compensate because I was thinking everyone else has already had enough time to review. And I only had, I think, 3 or 4 months to review. And at first, I was only doing self review. So I had to create my own plan. And I could say it was kind of hard. And the kind of plan I used to have, since it was majority study, it was challenging to keep my motivation up. But after that first postponement, with Odette and all, I kind of also learned to be more compassionate with myself. That it's not all about study, study, study. It's, study and then listen to my body and then take a break and then study. So it's a bit more flexible if I were to summarize it.
Okay. So what's good about with what you shared, ma'am, is that the key is time management, and then just number one, time management, know when to rest, know when to study, and then just eventually parang just enjoy the moment. Kumbaga, what you shared is that na-postpone ang exam, and then you try to think if mo-take pa ba ka next, and then naana po yung exam. But when the second time nga niingon sila nga ana ang exam, that's when you know already when to at least slow down with your routine and took care of your health more, because at the end of the day, it's your body that's your own confident no more gina siya mutabang nimo. And going back to what you said, ma'am, you said nga kaduha siya na postpone ang exam, no? I'm just very curious. When did you say nga, or when is the right time to say nga mo stop na ka og study, mama? Sakto na, this is enough. I've studied all the things that I needed to learn.
Hmm. Well, in terms of like when to take a break, no, because I think that's the context you're trying to, that's the question you're asking me.
Yes.
I think it's, well, on a personal experience, the times I would tell myself that I should stop is when nothing is coming into my head anymore. Every time I'm reading and I'm no longer processing anything, it's as if like I'm filling water in a cup and it's overflowing. There's nothing else that can hold that water. I tell myself, okay, it's time to put the lid on, stop, uh, let myself simmer down and do something else. uh, I know that there are people who do prefer to exhaust themselves and push themselves um, through that limit. But for me, I find it more important to step back a little and try to refresh yourself. Because sometimes when you try to force something that's already beyond the limit, it becomes unproductive. And that's something I learned, the hard way, because the early parts of my review, I used to do that. And all it does is frustrate me. But after doing the alternative, I even enjoyed my review. I enjoyed the lessons, the things I had to remember again. And it gave me a better experience, at least, in preparing.
For the next question, mama, heading the towards the board exam, towards the result, uh, were there any signs or visions na imong nakita, ma'am, ba nga you you're going to land somewhere in the top 10, or I mean, were you expecting to actually land on the top 10 for whatever spot, no? Or not at all?
I actually never expected anything relating to topping or being in the top notchers list. I was more concerned whether I would pass or not because again, I even though I had more than a year ideally to prepare, but there are things that happened along the way, and yeah, even the bagyo that recently happened, I think took the greatest toll in my review plans because all you had to think of was survival, and I think I only had a month left to properly go back into the review mode that I started thinking I might actually fail. And, given the added pressure of people's expectations that, oh, Erica got, Erica got this, it's easy for her. But for me at the time, I was just thinking, oh my goodness, I don't have enough time to really set myself up for the exam. But somehow I made it. And even till this day, still, um, it's still a surprise that I made it to top six. Yeah,
Kumbaga, it's never, hindi pa nagsisink in. No?
exactly.
Yeah. You're still in cloud nine. Uh, when you found out the result, how did you break break the news within the family, and how did they react?
Yes. It was really funny because the release of the results was on February 22, 22. So you know that 222 palindrome. It was released.
Numerology.
It was released
Yeah.
on that day, and I was actually having a dinner out with my boyfriend. He also took the exam, and spoiler alert, he also passed. So yay! And I remembered that when before the release of the results, I was telling him like, whatever happens, like I'm so proud of our efforts. Like we really pushed through, even despite everything. And then he dropped me off, and just as I just entered the gate, I saw a lot of people spamming me in my messenger chat box, and I was like, "What's this?" And then people saying congratulations. I was like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on?" Then I see the screenshot that a friend of mine shared, and he shared to me this list of the top notchers, and I was like, "Okay, what's this?" And then I was looking through the names, and I was like seeing my name, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And I was shaking and telling my friend is this real? Like I'm crying here, and unfortunately my parents were not here in the house with me when I had the results. They were out on a dinner, and so I had to call them. And I remembered like calling my mom first, and then telling her like, "Mom, like I passed, I made it, I even got top six." And like I could hear her like she sounded like she was about to cry, but tried to hold it in because again they were on a I think a business dinner with some people. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for interrupting your dinner." But yeah, I was just so excited to let you know.
They must be so proud and so happy with the result. No? Who wouldn't be very happy and be very proud?
Yeah, yes, they were really happy and they were really proud of me.
Mm. Down to the last few questions, ma'am. Uh, what's next for Miss Erika Gabriel? In the context of um, what are you going to do next? Are there offers already for you from USC, to teach or whatever? Are you planning to pursue your master's degree? What's next for Erika Gabriel after topping the bar? And what are you gonna do?
So my plan still hasn't changed really from when I was much younger. I do want to become a psychologist one day, and I have been looking around into the different schools and their curriculum and to see which one really fits me in relation to the kind of psychologist that I would want to become. So far, no offers from anyone yet about teaching or anything. I am open to it, but yeah, no, that nothing yet from anyone.
To formally close this conversation, ma'am, I just want to ask a message from you sa atong mga listeners, sa atong mga viewers, and especially the youth, no, the young students who want to be in the field of psychology and eventually to be as excellent as you do? What's your message to them?
That's a kind of a heavy loaded question, but for those who are interested in psychology and also for those who would like to pursue taking the board exam or be it, becoming a psychologist, I would just say always have ambition. I think that's one thing that helped me move forward with all the goals I have in mind, is that have a healthy dose of ambition, that you have something to look forward to, you have fuel that will keep you going, and also again to practice what you preach, because when you're in the field you will be learning the discipline, but it's much more meaningful when you apply that, be it applying it to yourself or to other people. Obviously, not in a very professional or licensed way, but in a way that you practice empathy early on and always think of the people in general. Because when I took the board exam, I remembered writing even in my little post-it notes is that, it said, do it for the people who cannot heal alone. It's something around those lines. And that was something that helped me push for, for excellence, I guess, or to do my best, because it's not just for me, it's for the people I will be serving in the future. So I hope for those listening, you keep those in mind too, because I think that's what matters a little more.
And that's it for this week's episode of On Point the podcast. Don't forget to follow us on our official social media accounts to keep you updated. This has been Franz Joshua Merida. Until our next conversation here on Point.